My name is Claire Bennett, and 3 weeks after giving birth, I fell down a flight of stairs with my newborn daughter in my arms. I could have saved myself. That is the part I still think about sometimes. There was a split second where my left hand found the railing. My fingers touched the wood. If I had grabbed it properly, I probably would have stayed on my feet. Maybe I would have twisted my ankle, maybe bruised my hip, maybe scared myself half to death, but I would not have gone down 12 stairs. But my daughter's head slipped against my chest. She was so tiny, so warm, so unaware of anything except the fact that her mother was suddenly falling. And in that instant, instinct took over. I let go of the railing. I wrapped both arms around Lily, twisted my body away from the wall, and took the fall myself. She came out of it with one tiny red mark on her cheek. I woke up in the hospital with a broken wrist, 2 cracked ribs, a concussion, and stitches above my eyebrow. My husband was in Ireland for his father's funeral. He had buried his dad that morning. So when the nurse asked who could come take care of my newborn that night, I did not call him first. I called my mother. She lived 20 minutes away. She said no, not because she was sick, not because she was working, not because there was nobody else in the world who could help. She said no because my sister was on vacation and someone had to watch her dog. That was the sentence that ended my old life and what I did from that hospital bed, with one working hand and a baby sleeping in a plastic hospital bassinet beside me. Stopped 10 years of payments, exposed $600,000 in lies, and cost my mother the $2 million inheritance she had been waiting for almost her entire adult life. But before I tell you what happened at the family dinner and why my grandfather walked in carrying a worn brown folder, you need to understand who I was before I hit those stairs. Because my mother did not start treating me like a bank that night. That was just the night I finally closed the account. If you've ever been the strong one in your family, the one everyone calls only when something breaks, stay with me and tell me in the comments who actually showed up for you when you needed help. Because sometimes that answer tells you everything about your life. I grew up in a house where love was measured by need. My mother, Linda Bennett, had 2 daughters, me and my younger sister, Megan. I was the quiet one, the responsible one, the one who learned early that if I wanted peace in the house, it had to be useful. Megan was different. Megan was bright, loud, dramatic, beautiful in the way people noticed immediately. She could cry on command when she was 7 and still somehow make adults laugh while she did it. She was not cruel when we were children. Not exactly. She was just raised in a world where every inconvenience became someone else's job. Usually mine. If Megan forgot her homework, I helped her redo it at the kitchen table while my mother said, "Claire, you're so good at this." If Megan spent her allowance before Friday, I was told to share because I was better with money. If Megan ruined something of mine, my mother said, "You know how she is. Don't make it a thing." That sentence followed me for years. Don't make it a thing. I became a person who did not make things a thing. My father, Roy Bennett, was not a bad man. That almost made it harder. Bad men are easier to hate. My father was gentle, tired, and deeply allergic to conflict. He worked for the city water department for 31 years, had a bad heart by the time he was 55, and believed the safest place in any argument was silence. When my mother favored Megan, he saw it. When my mother made me responsible for things no child should be responsible for, he saw that too. Sometimes, when nobody was looking, he would squeeze my shoulder or leave $10 under my coffee mug before school. But he never stopped it. He never said, "Linda, that's enough." He never said, "Claire is our daughter, not our second parent." He loved me quietly. And sometimes quiet love does not protect you from loud selfishness. I did well in school because school rewarded effort in a way my house never did. Numbers made sense to me. They stayed where you put them. They did not change the story depending on who was crying. By 16, I was managing the household budget better than my mother. By 22, I had graduated with a degree in accounting. By 27, I was working as a financial controller for a medical supply company. That was when the payments started. My father called me one evening. I remember exactly where I was standing, in the frozen food aisle of a grocery store, holding a bag of peas and wondering if I had enough energy to cook dinner. His voice was shaking. "Claire, your mother doesn't want me to tell you this." That was how every family emergency began. Not with the emergency itself, with the suggestion that I was being trusted with something secret and important. He told me his heart medication had changed. Insurance was not covering enough. The mortgage was behind. My mother was terrified. They had no one else to ask. No one else. That phrase opened something in me, because being needed had always felt dangerously close to being loved. So I said, "How much?" He said they could survive if I helped with $5,000 a month. 5,000. I remember sitting in my car afterward, hands on the steering wheel, staring through the windshield at the rain. It was an absurd amount of money. It was more than my rent at the time. It was more than I should have said yes to. But I had worked hard. I had savings. I had no children then. My husband Ethan and I were careful people. We lived below our means, drove old cars, cooked at home, and saved for a future we talked about in quiet, hopeful ways. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself it was for my father's heart. I told myself family steps in. That night, I set up an automatic transfer. $5,000 on the first of every month. At first, I checked in constantly. Did the prescription get covered? Did the mortgage company call again? Do you need me to look at the bills? My mother always had answers ready. "Yes, honey. We're managing. You saved us this month." Then slowly over time, the emergency became normal. 1 year became 2, 2 became 5, 5 became 10, 120 payments, $600,000. I never said the total out loud. Not to Ethan, not to my parents, not even to myself, because some numbers become mirrors, and I was not ready to look. Ethan knew I helped my parents. He did not know the full amount for a long time, and that was on me. Not because he was careless, but because I was ashamed of how much of our life I had quietly redirected into a house that never really held me. When he finally found out years later, he did not yell. He just sat across from me at our kitchen table and said, "Claire, who helps you?" I hated that question, because I had no answer. Then Lily was born. Our daughter came into the world on a rainy Thursday morning with a full head of dark hair and the angriest little cry I had ever heard. The first time they put her on my chest, I looked at Ethan and said, "She's furious." He cried so hard the nurse handed him tissues. For 3 weeks, my whole world shrank to milk, diapers, sleep, and the tiny sounds Lily made when she dreamed. I was exhausted in a way that felt physical, emotional, spiritual, all at once. But I was also happy. A quiet, terrified kind of happy. Then Ethan's father died. It was sudden, a stroke. His family was in Ireland, where Ethan had been born before moving to the States as a child. He had not seen his father in almost a year, and the guilt hit him harder than he admitted. "You should go," I told him. He looked at me like I had suggested he leave the baby on the roof. "Claire, you just had a baby, and you just lost your father. I can't leave you alone." "You're not leaving me alone. My mother is 20 minutes away. Your sister is an hour away. We have neighbors. I'll be okay for 4 days." I said it because I meant it, and because I did not want him standing at his father's grave with one foot still. In our nursery, he left on a Tuesday. He kissed Lily's forehead at the airport until she squirmed, then hugged me carefully and said, "Call me for anything. I mean anything."
"I will."
I did not know then how hard that promise would become. The fall happened 2 nights later. Lily had been fussy for hours, not screaming, just unsettled, making of those little broken newborn sounds that make your whole nervous system vibrate. I had barely slept. I had eaten half a piece of toast that morning and forgotten lunch entirely. Around 9:30, I decided to take her downstairs and warm a bottle. I remember standing at the top of the staircase and thinking the hallway light looked too bright. Then the world tilted. Postpartum exhaustion, low blood sugar, dehydration, whatever name the doctors later put on it. It arrived all at once. My knees softened, my vision tunneled. My left hand reached for the banister, and Lily shifted. Her head slipped sideways, away from the crook of my elbow, and she made one small startled sound. That sound decided everything. I pulled both arms around her and turned my body so she landed against me instead of the stairs. The first impact was my shoulder, then ribs, then wrist, then head. The sound was awful. Not a scream, not at first, just the heavy, terrible thudding of a body going down wood. At the bottom, I was on my side with Lily pressed against my chest. She was crying. That was good. Crying meant breathing. I tried to move my right hand and saw it bent wrong. Then I saw blood on the floor. Mine, not hers. I remember whispering, "It's okay, baby. Mommy's here." Then the room disappeared. A neighbor heard the fall and called 911. By the time I woke up in the emergency room, Lily was in a bassinet beside me, bundled and furious, being watched by a nurse with kind eyes. My wrist was in a splint. My ribs were taped. My forehead burned where they had stitched me. A nurse asked if my husband was available. I said he was overseas. She asked if there was someone local who could take the baby overnight, because I needed monitoring and imaging and pain medication, and the hospital could not be my child care plan. That was how she said it. Gently. Not unkindly, but the words landed hard. Child care plan. My baby was 3 weeks old and I had fallen down the stairs protecting her. I was in a hospital bed with one working arm and a head injury. My husband was burying his father across the ocean, and I needed a child care plan. I called my mother. She answered on the 5th ring. There was barking in the background. "Claire, why are you calling so late?" "Mom, I fell." A pause. "What do you mean you fell?" "Down the stairs. With Lily. She's okay, but I'm in the hospital." Another pause. This one longer. "Where's Ethan?" "In Ireland? For his dad's funeral." "Mom, I need you to come get Lily or stay with her tonight. Just tonight. The hospital won't let me manage her alone like this." The dog barked again. My mother sighed. Not scared. Not concerned. Annoyed. "Oh, Claire." That was when something cold moved through me. Not anger yet. Recognition. "Megan is in CABO," she said. "I'm watching Bentley." Bentley was my sister's golden doodle. I closed my eyes. "Mom, Lily is 3 weeks old. And Bentley has separation anxiety. You know, Megan planned this trip months ago. I'm in the hospital." "I understand that. But you always do this." My chest hurt too much to breathe deeply. "I always do what?" "You make everything urgent. Your sister finally gets to relax for once. And now you want me to abandon her dog in the middle of the night?" For a second, I could not speak. The nurse looked at me from the doorway. I stared at the ceiling tiles. "Mom," I said slowly, "I fell down a flight of stairs holding my newborn, and I'm sorry that happened," she said, in the voice people use when they are not sorry. "But Ethan needs to handle his own household. I can't keep jumping every time you have a crisis." Every time. Every time. I had spent 10 years wiring her $5,000 a month, and she was speaking to me like I was expensive. I said, "So you're not coming?" "I can't." "You won't." "Don't twist my words." The dog barked again. Then she said the sentence I never forgot. "Bentley can't be left alone overnight." I looked at my daughter, sleeping now, one fist tucked under her chin. "Neither can my newborn?" My mother said nothing.
I hung up.
I did not cry. That surprises people when I tell this story. But pain does not always come out as tears. Sometimes it sharpens. Sometimes it clears the fog from a room you have been standing in for years. The first thing I did was solve the real problem. I called an emergency postpartum care agency Ethan and I had bookmarked before Lily was born. We had never used it because it was expensive, and because I was used to not asking for help unless I could justify every penny. A woman answered. I told her my name, the hospital, the situation, my address, the door code, the pediatrician's number, Lily's feeding schedule, and where the diapers were. I sounded calm. That was my specialty. Within 45 minutes, a night nurse named Angela arrived at my house. My neighbor brought over Lily's diaper bag and car seat. The hospital discharged Lily into Angela's temporary care under the paperwork the agency sent. She texted me a photo less than an hour later. Lily asleep in her bassinet. Safe. More. Watched. I looked at that photo for a long time. Then I called Ethan. He answered immediately, his voice raw from grief and travel. Claire? Is Lily okay? She's okay. What happened? I fell down the stairs. There was silence. Then, very softly, what? She's okay, I said again, because I needed him to hear that first. I protected her. She's fine. I'm not fine, but I'll be fine. I told him the injuries. I told him the hospital. I told him Angela was with Lily. I did not tell him about my mother yet. He was sitting in a hotel room in Dublin the day after burying his father. I could hear the ocean somewhere beyond his window, or maybe I imagined it. His breath shook. I'm coming home. I know. I'm getting the first flight. I know. I should have been there. Nope, I said firmly. You were where you needed to be. This was an accident. He started crying then, quietly, like he was trying not to. I closed my eyes and let him cry because love, real love, does not make you perform strength every second. After we hung up, I lay in the hospital bed and stared at the phone in my left hand. There was one thing left to do. One thing I had avoided for 10 years. I opened my banking app. The recurring transfer screen looked ordinary. That offended me somehow. Something that had controlled so much of my life should not have looked so clean. There it was. Bennett Family Support. $5,000. First of every month. Active. I tapped it. The app asked if I was sure. I almost laughed. Sure. What a strange word. Was I sure my mother had chosen a dog over my newborn?
Yes.
Was I sure $600,000 had already left my life?
Yes.
Was I sure I could not get that money back?
Yes.
Was I sure the next payment was not coming? For the first time in 10 years, yes. I pressed cancel. A green check appeared. Recurring transfer canceled. That was all. No thunder. No music. No justice pouring from the ceiling. Just a green check on a hospital screen and the sudden absence of an obligation I had mistaken for love. The $600,000 was gone. I knew that. I was not getting it back. But the next $5,000 would stay in my life. In my daughter's life. And what my mother did not know was that the monthly payments were the smallest thing she was about to lose. Because 3 days later, my grandfather would walk into my parents' dining room with a folder, and inside that folder was the trust my grandmother had changed before she died. That folder would cost my mother more than $2 million. The morning after the fall, Ethan was already on a flight home. Angela brought Lily to the hospital so I could see her before more scans. The nurse placed her carefully against my left side. I inhaled the top of her head and felt something in me unclench. Then my phone started buzzing. First, my mother. I ignored it. Then Megan. I ignored that too. Then the family group chat. That one I opened. A mistake, maybe. But sometimes you need to see the lie written down before you stop doubting yourself. My mother had posted a long message. Everyone, please pray for Claire. She had a small fall at home, and thankfully the baby is fine.
Unfortunately.
She has decided to punish her father and me during a very hard time by cutting off support we depend on for Roy's medical care. I don't understand this cruelty. We have always done everything for our girls, and this is how she repays us. A small fall. Roy's medical care. Everything for our girls. I stared at those words until they stopped feeling like language and started looking like numbers, waiting to be audited. Aunt Carol replied first. Shameful. Your father is sick, Claire. A cousin wrote, family takes care of family. Megan finally texted separately. Mom says you're having some kind of breakdown. Also, my card got declined at the resort. Did you mess with the family money? The family money. I read that twice. The family money. For 10 years. My sister had thought the money came from some vague, shared Bennett family account. Some parental reservoir that existed for her convenience. She did not know I had been the reservoir. Or maybe she knew and had trained herself not to ask. I typed back with one hand. Megan, where do you think that money comes from? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Mom and Dad? Then another message. Right? I did not answer. Let her sit with the question. That afternoon, Ethan walked into my hospital room with the face of a man who had not slept in 2 days and had lost 2 fathers in 1 week, his own and the idea that my family would show up for me. He kissed Lily first, then he kissed the unbruised side of my face. Then I told him everything. My mother, the dog, the payments, the cancellation. For a moment he said nothing. Then he sat down beside the bed, took my left hand in both of his, and said, I'm sorry I let you carry that alone. That was the kind of sentence my family never gave me. Not why did you do that? Not how could you hide it? Not I told you so. Just recognition. I almost broke then. Instead, I asked him to bring my laptop. Because grief was one thing, but fraud had a smell and I wanted the numbers. Ethan looked at me carefully. You just fell down the stairs? I know. You have a concussion. A mild one. Claire, I need to know. He brought the laptop. With my left hand, slowly and awkwardly, I downloaded 10 years of bank statements. I exported the transfer records. I searched every memo line, every linked account, every withdrawal I could trace from the account my parents used. Numbers steadied me. They always had. By evening, I had a spreadsheet. 120 payments. $5,000 each. $600,000 total. Then I began matching what I had been told to what had actually happened. My father's legitimate medical expenses totaled about $78,000 over 10 years. Cardiologist visits, medication, hospital bills. Some of it real, some of it is heartbreaking, honestly. Mortgage and house costs I could verify came to about $46,000. That left $476,000. Almost $500,000 that had not gone where my mother said it went. I kept digging. Cash withdrawals around casino districts. Credit card payments linked to luxury stores my mother claimed she never visited. Transfers to Megan. Dog daycare. Resort deposits. At least SUV. Influencer photography packages. A $12,000 wellness retreat. Megan's life had been expensive. My silence had been financing it. By the time the spreadsheet was done, I had the shape of the lie. Out of $600,000, about $124,000 had gone to things my mother had claimed. The rest had gone to maintaining the illusion that Linda Bennett was a generous mother. Megan was a self-made golden child, and Claire was just naturally strong enough to need nothing. I printed 1 page, not the whole spreadsheet. 1 page. 12 rows. Clean, clear, impossible to scream over. Ethan read it, his jaw tightening more with each line. She spent more at casinos than on your father's heart.
Yes.
She sent Megan more than double what went to actual medical bills.
Yes.
He looked at me. What are you gonna do? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Grandpa Harold, my mother's father. I had not spoken to him much since my grandmother Ruth died the year before. Not because we were estranged, but because grief had made everyone quiet. His message said, I heard about the fall. I'm coming. I typed back. You don't have to. He replied, "I know." 3 hours later, Harold Bennett walked into my hospital room. He was 79 years old, tall but stooped. With a cane he pretended not to need and a brown leather folder tucked under his arm. His flannel shirt was buttoned wrong at the collar. His eyes went straight to my cast, then the stitches, then Lily sleeping beside me. "My daughter said you had a little accident," he said. I let out one laugh. It hurt my ribs. He sat down slowly. "Linda has always been good at making the truth smaller before it reaches a room." I looked at the folder. "What is that?" "Not yet, Grandpa. Not in a hospital bed."
I stared at him. He sighed.
"You have Ruth's eyes when you're about to argue." That made my throat close. My grandmother Ruth had been the only person in my mother's family who saw too much and said little. She was not soft. She smelled like black coffee and lavender soap, kept receipts in labeled envelopes, and believed a person's character showed up most clearly in how they handled money and inconvenience. When I was 25, around the time I started sending the payments, she took my hand during Thanksgiving dinner and said, "Be careful being useful, Claire. Some people will turn it into your job." I thought she was warning me about work. She was warning me about blood. Harold looked toward Lily. "Ruth knew," he said. My heartbeat changed. "Knew what?" "That you were sending money. Not the full amount at first, but enough," she suspected. Then she asked me to check. She knew? Not all of it. Not before she got sick, but enough to be angry. I looked down. Why didn't she say anything? She wanted proof. "Your grandmother never walked into a fight carrying feelings when she could carry paper." That sounded exactly like Ruth. Harold tapped the folder. "Before she died, she changed the trust." I went still. "What trust?" "The house. The land outside Boulder. The investment account. A few other things. Around $2 million, give or take the market." I had known my grandparents had some money. Not rich, but comfortable. Old property. Careful savings. Land bought decades ago before the area changed. My mother had always talked about it like it was already hers. "When Mom passes, the house will stay in the family. When Dad is gone, I'll probably sell the land." Your grandmother wanted me to be comfortable. Comfortable? That word had covered a lot. Harold's mouth tightened. "Ruth did not leave it to Linda."
I stared at him.
"She left it to you." And to Lily. The room changed. Not visually. Nothing moved. But something inside me did. "She what?" "The trust names you as primary beneficiary after my death, with a protected education fund for your child. Linda gets no control, no authority, no management rights. She can live in the house while I'm alive and afterward under conditions. But she does not own it. She cannot borrow against it. She cannot sell it. She cannot gamble it." My eyes filled. Harold looked away, giving me the dignity of not being watched. "Ruth said if Linda got her hands on it, Megan would be in a new car by Christmas and the rest would disappear one casino. Weekend at a time." I covered my mouth with my left hand. She knew Mom gambled? She knew Linda lied. That was worse. And more precise. Harold leaned forward. "Your mother thinks Sunday dinner is going to be about shaming you into turning those payments back on." I blinked. "What Sunday dinner? She's already called everyone. Your aunt, cousins, Megan, me. Says the family needs to come together and talk sense into you." Of course she had. My mother never fought privately when public guilt was available. Harold tapped the folder again. "She wants an audience. We'll give her one." I wiped my eyes. "You want to expose the trust at dinner?" "No," he said. "Ruth wants to expose the truth. I'm just the delivery man." I almost smiled. It hurt. He stood slowly. "Bring your one page." "I'm bringing the folder, Grandpa." He paused at the door. "Why now?" He looked at me, and his face was tired in a way I had never seen before. "Because your mother chose a dog over Ruth's great-grandchild. And I'm done pretending that's a misunderstanding. Sunday dinner was at my parents' house. The same house I had helped keep afloat, though not nearly as much as my mother had claimed. Ethan wanted me to stay home. "You're injured. I'll sit. You don't owe them a confrontation." "No," I said, "but I owe myself witnesses." He did not argue after that. He carried Lily's car seat. I carried the single printed page folded inside her diaper bag. Harold arrived separately, because he said my mother deserved the full surprise of seeing him walk in with us. The house smelled like pot roast and performance. Aunt Carol was already there. 2 cousins. Megan, freshly tanned from vacation, scrolling on her phone with Bentley's designer leash looped around her wrist like a bracelet. My father sat in his recliner, pale and quiet. My mother came toward Lily with open arms. "There's my grandbaby." Ethan shifted the car seat away. Not rudely, firmly. My mother's hands froze in the air. She turned the moment into hurt before it could become awkward. "Well," she said to the room, voice trembling, "I suppose I deserve that too." No one spoke. She had arranged the furniture like a trial. Relatives on the couch, dining chairs pulled in, coffee table cleared. She wanted me seated in the center, injured, postpartum, outnumbered, and guilty. I sat where I chose, near the dining table. Harold walked in last. My mother blinked when she saw the folder. "Dad, what's that?"
Paper.
He said it like that answered everything. My mother began. I have to give her credit. She was very good. She spoke about family, sacrifice, my father's health, how hard the last few years had been, how painful it was that I had used a scary but minor household accident as an excuse to punish everyone.
Manure.
My wrist throbbed. Lily made a soft sound in her sleep. My mother placed a hand over her heart. I was watching Megan's dog because Megan had planned that trip for months. And Bentley has anxiety. Claire knows this. But somehow I'm being painted as a monster because I couldn't drop everything instantly. Megan muttered, "He really does have anxiety." Nobody laughed. My mother looked directly at me, eyes shiny. "Your sister never creates these emergencies, Claire. She doesn't make everyone panic and then punish them for not reacting perfectly." There it was, the sentence dressed in a new outfit. Your sister never creates these emergencies. I reached into the diaper bag. Ethan's hand touched my shoulder once. I unfolded the page and placed it on the dining table. Not dramatically, just flat. The room went quiet. My mother looked at it like paper itself had betrayed her. "What is that?" "The truth," I said. My voice was calm. I had spent my life staying calm so other people could stay comfortable. This time, I stayed calm so they could not dismiss me. For 10 years, I sent this family $5,000 a month. $600,000 total. Aunt Carol's mouth opened. Megan looked up fully for the first time. My father closed his eyes. My mother said, "Claire, this is not the time." "It is exactly the time." The word surprised even me. I touched the first row. $78,000 went to Dad's real medical care. I'm not disputing that. $46,000 went to verifiable house and mortgage costs. That leaves $476,000. My mother's face changed. Not enough for everyone to notice, but I noticed. I had spent my life reading her weather. $311,000 went to casino withdrawals, luxury charges, and cash spending you told everyone didn't exist. Aunt Carol whispered, "Linda?" My mother snapped, "Those numbers are taken out of context." I touched the next row. $165,000 went to Megan. Credit cards, car payments, trips, dog expenses, content shoots, and direct transfers. Megan stood halfway. "What?" I looked at her. "That family money you kept asking about? It came from me." Her face went blank. "No, it didn't." "Yes, it did." She looked at our mother. "Mond?" My mother pointed at me. "She is twisting this. She has always been jealous of you, Megan. Always. This is what this is." I almost laughed. There it was. The old story. Claire is jealous. Claire is dramatic. Claire is cruel. Claire is making it a thing. But this time the room had the numbers. And numbers do not care who the favorite child is. My father's voice came from the recliner, thin and rough. Linda. Everyone turned. He looked smaller than I remembered. Is it true? For 1 second I thought she might answer him honestly. Instead, she said, "You knew we needed help." He flinched. Not because she had answered, because she had not denied it. Aunt Carol picked up the page. Her eyes moved down the rows. "You told us you managed on your own." My mother's face hardened. We did manage. I managed everything. Do you think this family runs on good intentions? Do you think Roy's pills pay for themselves? Do you think Megan's opportunities just appear? I did what I had to do, I said, with my money. She turned on me. And what else were you doing with it? Hoarding it? Buying nicer furniture? You didn't have children then. You had more than enough. There it was, the philosophy underneath 10 years of theft by guilt. I had more than enough. Therefore, she was allowed to take. I leaned back slowly because my ribs hurt. You did not ask for help. You built a life around my silence. My mother's mouth twisted. Oh, stop making yourself a martyr. You loved being needed. You loved feeling superior. That one hit closer than I wanted. Because part of it was true. Not the superior part, but the needed part. I had loved being needed because I had confused it with being safe. Harold set his cane against the table. The sound was small. Everyone heard it. Then he placed the brown folder beside my page. My mother stared at him. "Dad?" He did not look at her. He opened the folder, removed the first document, and laid it on the table. "This is the Bennett family trust." My mother's face drained. "Why are you bringing that here?" "Because your mother wanted me to. My mother is dead. And still, somehow, she planned this room better than you did." Nobody moved. Harold's voice was dry and steady. Ruth knew Claire was sending money. She knew Linda was lying about it. She knew the casino had become more than entertainment. She knew Megan was being funded while Claire was being praised for being strong enough to
disappear.
Megan started crying, quietly. For once, I did not know if the tears were for herself or me. Harold continued. "Before Ruth died, we amended the trust. The house, the Boulder land, the investment account. And the remaining assets are not left to Linda." My mother whispered, "No."
Yes.
"You can't do that." "We did. I'm your daughter. And Claire is my granddaughter." My mother stood. The chair scraped backward. "This is because of her. She turned you against me." Harold looked at her then. For the first time, there was anger in his face. "No, Linda. You did that yourself. Every time you lied. Every time you took. Every time you called Claire strong because it was easier than calling yourself selfish." My mother's hand went to her throat. Harold lifted the document. "The trust names Claire as primary beneficiary after my death, with a protected fund for Lily. Current estimated value is about $2.1 million. Linda has no management rights, no ownership rights, no authority to borrow against it or sell the property. She may remain in this house under the terms Ruth set, but she will never control it." The room was silent. Even Bentley stopped moving. My mother looked genuinely frightened now. Not sad, not sorry, frightened, because the future she had counted on had just been removed from her hands. "The monthly money," Harold said, "was the smallest thing you lost." My mother turned to my father. "Roy, say something." He stared at the floor. For a moment, I saw the old pattern try to rise. My mother demanding, my father shrinking, the room waiting for silence to protect everyone from the truth. Then he said, barely audible, "Claire shouldn't have paid any of it." My mother recoiled like he had struck her. It was the smallest act of courage I had ever seen. Too late. But real. My mother began to cry then, loudly, messily. The way she cried when she needed a room to stop thinking and start comforting, but no one moved toward her. Aunt Carol held the spreadsheet. Megan sat down slowly, both hands over her mouth. My father kept looking at the floor. Harold put the trust document back into the folder. I stood carefully, one hand braced on the table. This is what happens now, I said. My voice shook once, then steadied. I'm not asking for the $600,000 back. It's gone. I know that. But there will never be another payment. My mother sobbed harder. I continued. I will pay Dad's cardiologist directly if there is a verified medical bill and he asks. Me himself. Not through you, not through Megan, not through guilt. Directly. My father looked up. His eyes were wet. I looked at my sister. Megan, I'm not your account. I never was. She nodded once, like the words hurt, but landed. Then I looked at my mother. And you do not get access to my daughter just because you like the word grandmother. When Lily needed someone, you chose a dog. That is your choice to live with. My mother whispered, Claire, please. I shook my head. You don't get to turn this into one more emergency I have to solve. Ethan lifted Lily's car seat. Harold gathered his folder. Aunt Carol stepped aside to let us pass. At the door, my mother said the thing I knew she would eventually say. We're family.
I stopped.
For years, those words had been a leash. That night, they were only words. I turned back. Family showed up at the hospital, I said. Angela, the nurse I had to hire, showed up. Ethan flew across an ocean. Grandpa came with the truth. You stayed home with the dog. Her face crumpled. Maybe there was guilt in it. Maybe just loss. I no longer needed to know. We left without slamming the door. That mattered to me. A slam would have meant I still wanted the house to hear my pain. I didn't. The months after that were quieter than I expected. My mother called 2 attorneys. Both told her the same thing Harold's attorney had already said. The trust was properly amended. Ruth had been competent. Harold was trustee. Linda had no automatic right to assets just because she had expected them. Expectation is not ownership. That sentence became one of my favorites. The payments stayed canceled. For the first month, my mother sent long emails. Then shorter ones. Then nothing. Megan texted me once, 3 weeks after the dinner. Did you really pay for my car? I sent her the row from the spreadsheet. She wrote back, I didn't know it was you. I believed her. That did not make it okay. But it made it different. A few months later, she got a real job managing social media for a local salon chain. It was not glamorous. It did not involve KABO or sponsored swimwear or dog-friendly resorts, but it paid her actual money for actual work. She texted me a picture of her first paycheck. No caption. I sent back, good. That was all either of us could handle. My father called from parking lots, never from home. At first I hated him for that. Then I realized I could set a boundary without making myself hard. So I answered when I wanted to. I did not answer when I didn't. When he had medical bills, I paid the provider directly, not because he deserved endless rescue, but because I had decided what kind of daughter I could be without becoming my mother's victim again. Harold came over every Sunday. He held Lily like she was made of glass and called her the boss, which she absolutely was. Sometimes he brought the folder and set it on my kitchen counter. Just in case anybody forgets, he would say, I never forgot. A year later, on Lily's first birthday, we had a small party in our backyard. Ethan grilled too much food. Megan came for 40 minutes, brought a modest gift, and left before my mother could become a topic. My father sent a card with shaky handwriting. My mother sent nothing. I felt the absence, but not as a wound, more like a scar when rain is coming. You notice it? It does not control the weather. That evening, after everyone left, I carried Lily upstairs to bed. I stopped at the top of the staircase. For a moment, my body remembered. The dizziness, the slip, the fall, the choice. Lily rested her head on my shoulder, heavier now, warm and sleepy. I held the railing with one hand and her with the other. Then I walked down slowly, safely, one step at a time. People always want to know if I regret the $600,000. The honest answer is yes and no. Yes, because that money could have gone to my daughter, my marriage, my future, my rest. It could have bought time, freedom, safety. It could have been ours. No, because losing it taught me exactly what I had been buying. I had not been buying my father's medicine. Not really. I'd been buying a role. The dependable one. The quiet one. The one who never needs carrying. The one who can be drained and still apologize for making a mess. The day I canceled the next payment, I did not get my money back, but I got myself back, and my mother lost more than cash. She lost the story. She lost the audience. She lost the inheritance my grandmother had protected from her. She lost the power to call exploitation family and expect me to nod. The $2 million never touched her hands. Ruth had made sure of that. And sometimes I think about my grandmother sitting at her table in those final months, sick and tired but still sharp, signing papers because she knew her daughter too well and loved me enough to put protection in writing. That kind of love is not loud. It does not perform. It prepares. So here's what I learned. The people who call you strong are not always admiring you. Sometimes they are warning you that they have no intention of helping. And if you are always the emergency plan, the bank account, the listener, the fixer, the one who understands, the one who lets things go, one day you have to ask yourself a terrible question. If you fell, who would catch you? For me, the answer was not my mother. It was my husband flying home brokenhearted. It was a night nurse named Angela. It was my grandfather with a folder. It was my grandmother from beyond the grave. And strangely, it was me. Because at the bottom of those stairs, with my baby safe against my chest, I finally understood something I should have known years earlier. My strength was never supposed to be their blank check. My strength was supposed to protect the life I was building. My name is Claire Bennett. I sent my parents $600,000 over 10 years. When I fell down the stairs protecting my newborn, my mother chose my sister's dog over my baby. So I stopped the next payment. And 3 days later, my grandfather opened a folder that cost her the $2 million she thought she owned. I never got the $600,000 back, but I got the truth in the room. I got my daughter safe in my arms. And I finally stopped being everyone else's safety net long enough to become my child's mother.